Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to a brand new show, Have Your Say. I'm your presenter, Bashir Blenman. Today we're going to be talking about a very serious issue, something that affects all of us, and this is the issue of low iman. Like we know, since the dawn of Islam, people have either been good Muslims or bad Muslims. But like we know, at this present day and time, due to the pressures of social media and peer pressure and the powers that be, it's a very difficult situation for a lot of the Muslims. So we're going to talk about maybe what can help us to increase our iman, and we can try to identify the reasons why our iman decreases. So before we start our discussion, I'd like to introduce you to our guests. Brother Isa, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How you doing, brother? And Brother Abu Bakr, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So before we start, let's try to get to know our guests a bit better. Isa, could you let us know a little bit about you, please?
My name is Isa Thair. I'm a student. I'm still a teenager, believe it or not. I'm from East London, Stratford, where I grew up and I was raised.
Okay. Abu Bakr?
My name is Abu Bakr Danfor. I'm a revert to Islam. Alhamdulillah, I've been Muslim for roughly about 9 to 10 years. Before I came to the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I was living, a very corrupted lifestyle where I was heavily involved in street culture, drugs, you name it. This is the type of lifestyle that we were living. But alhamdulillah, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided me to Islam, I've been able to reform my life and, construct myself in a better manner. So alhamdulillah, ever since I've been a Muslim, I feel like I'm a complete new person. So that's just a little bit about myself.
So I think this is a good thing that we can, it's like a good focus point, is the fact that we all kind of come from similar backgrounds in a sense, but maybe very different as well at the same time. So like I say, I gather that you've had I don't think your life has been very rocky so far. You're still a teenager, but you still have issues. Like I say, I think the main thing that we have to understand is that an issue is an issue whether we like it or not. Some of us, like I say, we come from criminal backgrounds or whatnot, and some of us don't come from these type of backgrounds. But an issue is an issue whether you like it or not. Like, a woman can break her nail, it's like the end of the world, and then some of us can lose a whole family, and we deal with things differently. So talking about the issue of iman, like we know it's like a yo-yo. It goes up and down for all of us, and this is the understanding of the Muslims, that none of us are going to have high iman all of the time. But when we do have low iman, we have to try and find pragmatic solutions to bring it back up. So what do you think of that? Let's start with the problem, and then we can try to come to the solution, inshallah. What do you think is like the main issues at the moment that are the cause of low iman?
I would say it's obviously our iman is there in terms of our belief. Yeah, so there's more and more of us slowly as we're being educated about Islam through social media and through the media and through all these dawah groups and all these different kind of arguments. It's actually building a conviction within us, compared to maybe a generation before where they were just taught that Islam's only for funerals, only for salah and whatnot. So there's a good aspect to it, but then there's that aspect of like your taqwa, maybe your consciousness of Allah. It's always going up and down, isn't it? When we say iman is going up and down, we mean it in that sort of sense. And it's naturally going to happen. It's not even like Imam Ghazali, he said, for example, that like the hardest battle I've had is in my own soul. So everyone's got a fight with their own soul, isn't it?
No, definitely. Most definitely. What do you think, Abu Bakr?
I think, subhanAllah, we see many people embracing Islam, and even we see many of the born Muslims coming back to the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I think one of the biggest problems that we have amongst the young people in particular is the understanding of the religion. And like what the brother said, we were living in a time whereby before a lot of people used to think Islam is just about the funeral or just about Eid. So when we see many of these people coming back to the deen, they don't really look into the religion, and sometimes we see many people following cultural backgrounds and it becomes difficult. Let me give you a prime example. There's one brother that I know, and he said to me, he was in prison and he was with some few born Muslims in there, and there was a brother who reverted to Islam, and he was Muslim maybe for about a year or so, and he got to a stage and he's like, I don't want to be a Muslim anymore. And the brother's like, why don't you want to be a Muslim anymore? He's like, because I got to pray 12 times a day. And he's like, what are you talking about? You got to pray 12 times a day. But what he didn't understand is, you know, some brothers who come from certain backgrounds, obviously they pray the sunnah prayers, but they pray it like it's wajib, like it's compulsory. So when he was around...
Same story.
Okay, so when he was around these individuals, he thought he had to pray 12 times a day. And he got to a stage in his life, he's like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So I think one of the biggest problems that we have in the time that we live in now is the understanding of the religion. And because the cultural backgrounds and some people not understanding some things are sunnah and they're not wajib that you have to do, it makes it a little bit confusing for a lot of the people. This is from what I've seen.
Because like I say, when we look at this on a deeper note as well, like we know that Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah, he made it very clear that the religion that's with us has to be understood the way the Salaf understood it. And some people belittle this aspect, but by belittling this aspect, you see what's happening now. Do you understand? It's like something that is not something that is from the intellect. So if we try to understand this religion the way the pious people understood it, then it's kind of inevitable what will happen after. Can we agree on that? 100%. Can we agree on that? Because like I say, from what I've noticed coming back as well to London, is that subhanallah, it's a situation where the companions are destroying people. And I've seen, because there's a lot of brothers, like, you know, in our time when we first came to Islam, there was like a real sense of brotherhood. Even if brothers weren't really good brothers or whatnot, there was still a bit of shyness. There was some type of respect for the religion. But now it's come back to a sense where, you know, people there's no shyness, there's no like jealousy for the religion. People are going back to their old friends because the Muslim community are not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then it's like everyone's kind of falling like leaves at the moment. I know it's
I think one of the biggest problems, when it comes to this is social media. Because, all right, look, when we first became Muslim, subhanallah, you couldn't expose your sins like the way you could expose yourself now. Yeah. And, you know, exposing your sins is the norm. It's the normal thing to do. It's not something that, you know, people are shy or they shy away from doing. Now, you go on Instagram, you go on Snapchat, you go onto these social platforms, and you see people doing everything. You might meet a brother in a masjid, and you think, right, mashallah, the brother is humble and whatnot. Then you see him on social media, he's a complete different person. And I feel like sometimes as well, I see a lot of these individuals, it's like, I feel they're you know, looking for attention. Yeah. Because I don't understand. I'm a sinner, no doubt. Let's not confuse me by me sitting on this panel. I'm a sinner. But when I sin, I think to myself, I don't want no one to know what I'm doing. Exactly. You know, I feel some type of guilt, and I know what I'm doing is wrong, and I know I shouldn't do it. But now we live in a time whereby I sin, let me post it online. I want everyone to do it. And I don't know if you notice this, Isa, when we post things online, even our own brothers and sisters will be liking your sins and commenting. Do you notice that as well?
They'll say mashallah when they see two Muslims together in a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship. But I think the thing is, I think stuff like social media is more like a means. Yeah, so like you have a root problem and then you have what stems from it. Yeah. So for example, you've got all these influences. So like, as young Muslims, if you don't have a girlfriend, it's like, are you weird? If you're not following the bandwagon, it's like you're an outsider. Like what's going on? So there's peer pressure. Like some Muslims, they end up going to like non-Muslim sort of colleges later on, and then they get influenced like that, isn't it? So obviously there's a factor with peer pressure, there's a factor with social media. Some people say music has an influence, and I think a lot of these things definitely do have an influence, but for me it's about like looking at the problem properly, yeah, and seeing where does it all stem from.
No, of course, but another thing that I've kind of noticed as well is that I believe that it's come to the point now where social media is an addiction now. It's an addiction for many people, and it's something that is like I say, it's destroying lives. Because one thing that I always try to, like you say, look at the major problem as well. Look at what it's really doing. You can have someone that maybe they're not allowed to go out. They come from a strict Muslim home. Yeah. They can't go outside. They can't watch TV in their house. They can't listen to music in their house. But with a pair of headphones and a smartphone, the whole dunya is in their room now. Yeah. The whole dunya is with them now. So you get sisters, like I say that before. Because like I know, we come from a non-Muslim background, and we know what it was about. Maybe there was a bad woman. Yeah, she was a bad woman, but she was only bad to the people that knew she was bad. Yeah. So that her like maybe she can later in her life, she can kind of get away with it later. She can kind of maybe go to another area. She can kind of reinvent herself. And even some guys, a lot of guys were doing bad things, but not everyone really knew. People knew who knew. But now you've got people that live in Australia, you've got people that know in Norway, you've got people in the other side of the world that know you're a drug dealer now. They know that you're a promiscuous woman. They know this because the whole dunya is access to every corner of the earth. And the effect it's having on the Muslim community is that you have sisters and brothers that maybe they're not even promiscuous people or they're not even bad people, but because it's like a social trend now to be like a sexy girl or a guy that's basically up to no good, this like illusion is getting projected into the whole world. So you can't even get away with it now. Like Allah can't cover you now because you've exposed it to the whole world. And then, like I say, it's like a domino effect where it's like, okay, you kind of try to live the illusion, and then maybe that illusion becomes a reality. So I think it's a real addiction, and it's a real problem at the moment, from what I can see.
One thing I wanted to add in regards to what you said, the addiction. SubhanAllah, I was with some brothers just the other day, and this individual, he said something what was really shocking to me. He said to me, you know what? If certain social media platforms were to close down today, I would have withdrawal symptoms. And when he first said it, it didn't really. I didn't really. It didn't really. I didn't really understand what. Yeah, I didn't really understand what he meant when he said that.
His life so engrossed into it.
Yeah, but you see, afterwards, I sat there and I started to look at this individual. And I said, "Wow, this is not a joke. Like withdrawal, that's serious. That's like you're gonna become sick. You're not gonna know what to do. You're gonna fall into depression." And like I said, for many of us, I'm not gonna lie. When I do wake up, even in the morning, if I pray Fajr and whatnot, I do go on my phone. Because it's kind of become a way of life. Yeah. But when he said withdrawal symptoms, I said,
that's
wow.
over the top.
Like I said, it's an addiction. And like I said, I think the worst side about it is the fact that social media has so much good in it. Yeah, there's so much good to do with the social media, to do like even just keep in contact with your family that maybe live in different countries. If you have some type of Islamic reminder, you can share it with 1,000 or 5,000 people, as many people that are on your network, you can share these things with. But at the end of the day, there's a totally different side to it. And I think that's the side that is just destroying people because they can't separate them.
Social media itself, obviously, it's like mobiles and it's permissible, but I think there's a culture that's being pushed on social media. Yeah, the same culture dominates us in a society as well. Yeah, and I think it's that particular culture that's breeding all these issues.
Yeah. Okay, but put social media to the side now, because like I said, this is a bigger topic. It's a greater topic than just social media. But I think that it's very important to speak about companions as well, because I think that some of us don't. A lot of people, they're not really engrossed in the social media, but they still have low iman. So, like I say, what do we think about that? I think as well, like I say, it's an encompassing issue. Yeah, where, like I say, it's a bit of the social media, it's a bit of the bad friends. Like I say, it's a bit of the lack of understanding of the religion. Maybe it's a lack of self-esteem, or like I say, just that general hope in life.
Well, we can't underplay the fact that there's external, like obviously, there's from within, but we're also getting attacked as well at the same time. Yeah. There's pressures from the way people are. People are very individualistic, and they're pushing that mentality in Muslims. It's coming from all different angles. It's hitting us, and at the same time we're getting attacked in the media. Muslims are like, "Oh no, don't want nothing to do with this religion." Like, I think it's all like a systematic thing from the top. Like, one thing's there, and it's just having a trickle down effect, and then it's affecting us right at the bottom.
But at the same time, I think the best thing we could do is try to look at this, like I say, look at it pragmatically, where it's something that, what can we kind of do about it? We can't really do a lot to do with what's upstairs, you know what I mean? But we could do something about ourselves.
We can protect ourselves from this sort of cultural invasion. Yeah. Like, there's the Western sort of culture, like, which is invading our lands. Like, I went to Pakistan recently, and the first thing they ask is, "Oh, you're from London, do you have a girlfriend? Oh, do you smoke weed?" I'm like, "No." And then they see me pray Salah, and they're like, "Oh, you pray Fajr? You're from London and you pray?" Yeah, so alhamdulillah, there is some level of like the rise of Islam in these countries in the West, yeah. But then at the same time, there's also that push from the society, from all their, it's like their armies, yeah. They got social media, they got this, they got that, and they're just pushing it all at us to have these mentalities.
You know what? I think there's a bigger problem than that. I understand some of the points that you're bringing, but I think the biggest problem is that identity crisis.
Yeah, definitely.
If you know who you are, then you represent that. Do you understand? If you're an individual who goes with the wind, one day you're with the bad boys, next day you're the good boys, Next day you're doing this, doing that. You don't know where you stand. And I see from a lot of the young people, Bashir, what I see from young people is that they don't know who they are.
They don't.
They don't know who they are. And they don't put themselves in a position where they can say yes or no. You know, today they're with this person, tomorrow they're with that person. You speak to that individual and say, why are you doing this? They don't even know.
Because you understand what I'm saying. It's like, even with social media, we know that there's always going to be advertisements on the side. We know that there's always going to be this person you might know. But the bottom line is the average person kind of knows who's on their network, and they draw a certain type of network to themselves. So we can look at the social media aspect as well, but it always comes down to the companions, whether it's on social media or not. And I'm looking at this from my perspective. When I first started practicing, my rule in my life was either I'm going to have good friends or no friends. Simple. And this is something that protected me more than I can put words into it. Do you understand? But some people don't understand this aspect, and they don't understand the importance of good companions or no companions. Because Allah is always going to be there for you. You can always make, like, my friend was the Quran. My friend was, you know what I mean? Like, I made friends with other things. But people don't understand the aspect that if you have bad friends,
Look,
it's inevitable what's going to happen.
It is one of the biggest
example,
factors.
A prime example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, you're on the religion of your friends.
Yeah.
And at the same time, a lot of people belittle that and just, you know, I'm not saying like what Issa was saying. I think we make too much excuses. Social media, this. What? Who are you as an individual? Like, can't you say yes and can't you say no? Can't you control yourself?
So
and this is what I always say to a lot of young people. You need to find yourself and do you. The religion of Islam is a complete way of life. It's a complete way of life. But Islam doesn't tell you to change your whole personality, your character. But it tells you to better it. It tells you to adapt. But what I notice, from a lot of young brothers is this. They become Muslim or they come back to the religion, but they're floating everywhere.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing and they burn out.
But again, like, and we spoke about this before, it's identity crisis. Because people, like I say, either they don't know who they are or they know who they are and they're not happy with this. And like I say, we know we're from the Ummah of Muhammad. And like I say, he came here to help us perfect our manners and perfect our characters and to do and to be the best of people, to be like real men. People do not understand that, like I say, this is something that's come here to benefit you. It hasn't come here to be a burden. It's coming to better you. It's coming to solve all of your problems. So again, it's like we can look at social media, we can look at bad friends, we can look at family members, we can look at the society, the government. But as far as I'm concerned, it's all excuses. Like we said, it's excuses. If we can get to a stage when we understand ourselves, we understand the blessing that that's been bestowed upon us, and we understand that this is the key to all of the doors. It's the key to all of the doors, the good doors. The key to the good doors. But if we don't understand this and we keep playing games and we keep trying to be something we're not and we keep trying to belittle such a blessing, maybe it'll be taken away from us. And this is the biggest problem. Like we know, Allah says that, you know, if you don't want to worship Allah, I'll paraphrase, you don't want to worship Allah, he can replace you with a nation that will worship Allah. So we're insignificant people. Like I say, we know we're liquid. We come from liquid and we're going to go back to the ground. We're insignificant people. But at the same time, Allah has still had mercy on us and He still blessed us with something that make us better than the angels. If we can do the right thing. So, like I said, it's an umbrella. It's an umbrella issue, isn't it? There's a lot of things around it, but the solution, we all have it. That's the biggest issue. I think that's what's scary, is that we actually have the answers to all of the problems, but do we utilize this this blessing? Yeah.
The point you made about identity crisis, I think is important and it is underplayed, because on one hand, like you're in college, and then naturally if you're studying economics, politics, history, all these sorts of social science subjects, the topic of discussion always comes up about Islam, about the niqab, should we ban it or not? It's constantly there, isn't it? Oh, Sharia law, is it barbaric, and so forth. And then one minute you're like, I'm a Muslim, but then you're like, oh wait, I'm a British Muslim, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm a liberal, modern Muslim. Well, that means I have to abandon the hijab and be like, oh, it's oppressive. And then that's why Muslims are just confused. They don't know where they're going. Some of them just shut out, be like, oh, just allow this, forget it.
But that's like what you're saying. I just think sometimes we just indulge ourselves with all this political stuff. Do you understand?
No, but that's where the identity crisis is, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I personally think, you start busying yourself with this. What do they think of me here? What do they think of you there? If we were all, let's say the Muslim youth, if we are worshipping Allah the way Allah expects us to, no government, no community, no society will have any problems with us. Look at the basic rulings in the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like the neighbours, the rights of your neighbours, the way you have to treat your neighbours, the way you have to look after them. You've never seen this in any other religion.
Yeah.
The rights your neighbours have, subhanAllah. But the thing is us adapting and stop worrying about what people think. If we represented Islam in the right way, no one would have a problem with us.
Yeah,
Look how
true.
many times people met the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they embrace Islam
But
just from meeting him.
Yeah, but there needs to be a balance. Like I felt like as a young person as well, especially going to college, that there needs to be a balance. We do need to challenge these attacks, like that are coming towards us intellectually, obviously.
The best way to challenge these things is with our actions. Do you understand?
Yeah.
To be the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expect us told us to be righteous people, to be people who are good in society,
Yeah,
to be
speak out
people who
against
don't corrupt
oppression,
society,
yeah.
who don't disturb our neighbours, disturb people in the society that we live in. If we were living according to these laws, then I don't think we would have any issues. We wouldn't have any problems. But then we see, sometimes we see a lot of bad representatives of Islam. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
that's
Even
true.
sometimes, if you look at some radio stations,
Yeah.
they might be discussing something, and you hear some Muslims call up, and you're like, "Why did this
Yeah,
brother?
what's-
What's he talking about? Why is he saying such things?"
So like I say, what is like I say, we have to understand it again like an umbrella issue. But like I say, we're at the end of the show now, so I think that we can all agree that we have to start to prioritize as Muslims and as people in general. I think that if we prioritize and we understand what are the real issues, and we understand that we are responsible for these issues, then I think we can change it. And we leave it on this note, like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, he said that we were people that were humiliated. And then Allah gave us honor, He gave us izzah, yeah? And if we return back to the old ways, then Allah will humiliate us again. So I think this is the biggest issue. Okay, well, we'd like to thank our guests. Thank you for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure. Just a little bit of advice for the new Muslims and the born Muslims. Please try to take your religion easy. Take things easy. Like I say, take things step by step. And like I say, try to understand things the best you can. And this will be the means of you becoming the best Muslim that you can be. Like I say, this religion is easy, and it's upon you to make it as easy as possible for yourself. Please try to be a good example, and please try to be a means of bringing people to the religion and not pushing people away from the religion. Until next time on Have Your Say, I'm Bashir Blenman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.